Hello, guys. Welcome back to the Stay Tuned podcast where we have power, and we are your hosts, Amber Stroud and
Tim Stroud, and that definitely sounded like a game show host in training. Nicely done.
thank you. Yeah, as you guys can see, Tim has power again. He is in the Houston area. Tim, let us know what happened in Houston this past week for those who aren't in Houston.
So formal, Amber.
I know.
Today is my first day back with power. Actually, received power last night, and thank you again to all of the crews that are working in the greater Houston area, whether you live here or you came down for a special project. I know I had some of my friends that traveled from Missouri to come down as badass linemen to work on it. And so, for those who aren't knowledgeable, Hurricane Beryl came barreling through Texas, and the weather projectors were way off. I get it. Winds change, barometers change up and down, and with those pressures, it moves that weather around.
It
And
was
so it did.
category one, right?
I'm sorry.
Category one.
Yeah. And so, they get up to a cat 5. And so it was a decent storm. So it wasn't just like, just cat 1. We lost some of our Texas residents during this storm because the trees, it wasn't because of the rain. It's not, I don't think so. There may have been a couple of people passing away from other things. What I saw on the limited amount of news I was able to gather, it was because of the trees, the wind, and the tornado and tornado-like winds that whipped through this area. And sadly, from people that weren't prepared and they did not heed the warnings from the people who are telling us about it.
That's crazy. Yeah, like I'm gonna stay away from political topics, just for the sake of our channel. But that's one of those things where you would really hope somebody higher up would have swooped down and given you guys a hand. And especially my personal opinion is, Houston and that area is so used to these storms happening every year. Why aren't there like specific things in place where, I don't know, let's say a stadium closes down and offers power or a sleepover, if you will, if they have the chance to do it and all that stuff. But instead, there's like games going on.
Well, let's break that down. And so when you look at resources, they are federal, state, and local resources. Local go into county and city or your province or parish if you're in Louisiana. And with that one, the state has certain monies and the federal has certain monies. The federal money comes from FEMA and it has to be released the way it's structured by the president. The president says, hey, this is an area that has been a disaster area. Boom, releases that from the FEMA funds. But the president has to talk to the governor. Now, there's some politics going on there. And like you said, we're not going to get into that one. But good people are.
I want a joke.
Yeah, exactly, right. Holla at your boy. And so when those funds get released, that'll be fine. I live in a apartment complex because I sold my house in sorry, January. A frog in my throat. Little frog. Get another drink more.
I can patch the hole. He sold his house in January, and he's been living downtown Houston, East downtown.
And I live directly across from the Shell Energy Stadium where they had full power. And then 4 blocks down the street, the Astros had full power at Minute Maid Park. And there's still games going on at both of those locations while we had 2 million-ish people without power.
Yeah.
And a large majority of those people without power also were without water. There was water to our area, but not to our facility because we have 2 different buildings and our pump is in number 1. And so for those who aren't familiar, when you drive down the highways or the country roads and you see the huge water towers, those are there for several different reasons. Number 1, storage of water, because you can store millions of gallons of water. Number 2, well, depending on the size. And then you also have the water pressure, and then you have the water purification. Sometimes the water purification takes care of at a plant or somewhere else, so the water goes up, it's stored, and then the pressure pushes it down, and that's the way you're able to get water into mid-rise buildings. Otherwise, when they're above a certain level, they have to have an internal or external pump to push that water. That's where we're at. We need an external pump to push the water to the different levels. So if you're on the ground floor, you may have limited water pressure. You may be under a boil order because the water could come through would be non-potable water. It means you could use
Ew.
it to
Yeah.
clean, but you needed to boil it to get all the bacteria out just if you're going to drink it, right?
I've never thought about that, like the pump system,
Yep.
how it gets high up.
Yeah, and so it's just one of those things. I mean, as you learn about how things work, and I was always fascinated by Leonardo da Vinci growing up. So I would read volumes of his books and everything that he did, and the engineers that followed behind, talking about water displacement and how to move water, because water seeks its own level, realistically and physically. And so you look at that as in people people seek their own level. So lesson learned there in life. But with the water comes into the area and then it leaves when it can. The drainage system in Houston is not where it should be. So that means that if we got 3 inches of rain, we may have 6 to 9 inches of water in the waterways because it flows down gradually and then it pools in certain areas where it cannot drain. And that's
Mm,
a huge problem because when you have the bayou and
yeah.
different waterways around, they get saturated and they can't go anywhere. So that's where the pumps come in again to relieve that water. And then you've got everything with it. Unless you drive a road and you are absolutely sure you have probity on the matter of where the road guidelines are and how deep it is, people drive their little meep meeps in there because back in the day, in the 80s and the 90s and further back, vehicles had a lot of weight to them. So if you drove a Cadillac, a Buick, a big old pick 'em up truck, you knew you could drive somewhere and it would weight it down. Look around when you're driving and look to see if you have a vehicle that has a real bumper on there. They're all plastic, right?
Yeah. I know Jeeps are pretty solid depending on the Jeep.
Yeah, exactly. And I had a big old Jeep, but I guess
Yeah.
what? Sold it and got a Lexus, which is nicer.
It is
But
comfortable.
oh yeah, but
Welcome
guess
to the
what?
club.
When I was driving in the water as well, there was enough water to where it actually picked up the car and moved it. I was like, time to get back. So I couldn't do any rescues on that level. However, when the waters went down, I was able to go out, cook for my neighbors, and grill for them because we had no power, but we had propane, so I could cook on the grill. Pardon me. And then I could go out and do rescue work. So that means taking people from areas that had no power and putting them into cooling centers because it's Texas, still in the 90
I
degrees. So we
know. That's the worst part. Like if it were at least a normal degree outside where you could just like camp out and wait for it to pass. Nope.
Yeah, I mean, you're exactly right. I mean, there would be some other troubles that you'd have to look at because when the water comes up, all the critters that are outside, they're looking for dry land too.
Oh,
Uh, and so everything's moving. And then anytime you have precipitation, and the weather is right, mosquitoes need 3 days to spawn, and then 7 days later, you've got everything around. So we're getting that those effects as well, and starting to get an uptick on those. And then you just got to be mindful of the different areas that you're at. But with uh, the power out, and I know there's a certain company in Texas that has the state contract, and I'm not going to mention them. They should have prepared more for this one and communicated better with their customers about the outages and what's going on. But like you said, if you live in Texas, if you live next to a river, or if you live in the desert, there are
yeah.
certain things you have to prepare for. A large part of our population, we're not prepared. For me and Colton, who's at his trainers today, because Amber and I are
Oh,
getting ready to take a little trip. So he is on. He gets trained up once a year from his trainer, and Allie's taking care of him. But I had enough food and water for Colton and I for 6 weeks.
that's pretty solid, honestly.
It is, and so that means I could grill the food that I had and help feed others, and then I had the dry food and the prepared food. So I have MREs, meals ready to eat, that I can take with me and go. It means I can cook those meals and have a hot meal if I want to. So which is nice.
What's your favorite MRE flavor?
Ooh.
I think
So
Heather's favorite was like the chili mac and cheese or something.
same, because you could take the pasta, which gives you the carbohydrates that you need. You could squeeze in that cheese, which gives you some fat. You need fat in your life, and then you put it's got a little burger bits in it, and then you could, if it was awesome, you put the little chips and stuff on top, the Fritos.
Oh, I
They
think
could,
his always came with like Skittles.
yeah, but a little candy that help you get along. But yeah, I love those, and it's really weird. We always joke around in the military is that we're eating food by the lowest bidder. Yeah. So I know sometimes they go when they have an army contract, military contract, they go for best value, but sometimes it's that lowest price that wins. So I have some MRE ish meals that I prepared, and I've got a case of those here, and then I've got some in storage, so I have to go get more. Same with my water. I had enough for 6 weeks for Colt and I here. I have another 6 weeks in storage. I'm not a prepper. This is just stuff that if it hits the fan, we're good to go. I don't have to worry about logistics of people bringing in food to take care of us and go around. Don't get me wrong. I love my creature comforts, but also I want to take care of others. And huge shout out to some of our partners in the area: John Smith with Combined Arms, Jay Coppett with Serve, Antenna Plesher with Grace After Fire, and Dr. LaShondra Jones with the City of Houston Veterans Program. Those four helped coordinate some amazing stuff in coordination with the Harris County Veterans Program. And we were able to feed and pass out water to people in need. And we had, I think, 213 veterans come through our line
Wow.
yesterday, which is great. And we're talking, box of food from the Houston Food Bank, fresh bananas, water, and some of those MREs that we were talking about, and chips, just fun stuff because you can't just eat MREs. It's yeah, you want something fun, right? And we were able to do that, and we got soaked. It started raining at one point, but there's a saying in the military: if it ain't raining, we ain't training. So that was said a couple times. We just had fun and passed out, and I loved how it was a hodgepodge of everybody. I mentioned a few of the organizations. There were others that were involved as well, and it's always something. It's great when you see neighbors helping out neighbors. And then, but also on the other side of that coin, you have some organizations that try to be the shiny penny. Oh, look what it! This was not that. This was just good people helping and doing what they should do, and they had to put out the word. And so my role was to take pictures and promote them and lift them up and do the things. And I'm not going to give any discredit for ones who try to be the shiny penny, not mention any names, or the ones that didn't show up at all. I'm sure they were taking care of their families or doing something else. I know that Melanie Dubendorf was another part. She was in the Katy area
I
working.
saw she was in an article. I think her and Sarah they were on a car and they didn't or a truck. They didn't even know pictures were being taken of them.
Who did they partner up with? Was that Kroger or HEB?
I think it was HEB only because I remember seeing her post the slogan.
Hmm.
I'm not sure though.
Both great organizations that support the community. Love them equally, and love how they put water out into the community, whether it was sponsored or not. Those resources go back into the community to make sure that people are taken care of. Absolutely love that. And then Melanie and Sarah also went out to help another veteran who, a Vietnam veteran. He and his wife lost power, so he's closer to 80 than he is 70, and it was really tough on them because he's had some health troubles. And so Melanie and I talked, and I said, "Well, let's just be the delivery people. Let's just show up and deliver it, and then they've got nothing else to lose. They can't say we don't want it."
Yeah,
Exactly what we did, and set them up for success, and that got them through the last 2 days that they didn't have power, and now they have power.
nice. I love when I mean it sucks. It's bittersweet because you it trying to think out how to word this. you don't want something bad to happen to a community for the community to come together, but it is always nice to see the community organically come together and help one another. You know what I mean?
I do, and you're exactly right. It's a shame that people don't come together more often and be thankful for the small things. I can attest from being deployed multiple times around the world where you don't have power or electricity, and you're thankful for all of it because, say, it's only 90 degrees outside, it's bearable. But if you're used to 72 in the house, that's
Mhm.
18-degree vector, and that's totally different from sleeping when it's 72
Oh,
when
it's
it's
so different.
90, right?
I just experienced it. And like I might sound like what's it called? A spoiled brat when I say this, but we don't have an AC and it was like high 90s here in Washington last week and we didn't buy an AC. It got bad. Like, it's bad when you and your partner, roommate, whoever get into fights only because it's warm. So that's when we had to cave and buy an AC, and it makes such a difference. So that put it into perspective for me, like all the people dealing with that in Houston, but also people who deal with that on a regular basis without
Mhm.
something happening.
Right, and then you look to our homeless population, Amber, and every large city has them. And I've yet to go to a metropolis and not see the darker side, which
Yeah.
is where the haves and have-nots meet. And Houston's no different. There are skyscrapers, and then 2 blocks down, you'll have homeless people. And we have those tent cities, and they've cordoned off certain areas so they can't panhandle, beg for money, and but they do give them space to live. Now these are the people that have chosen not to go to the centers, whether they are veterans or just civilians. I say just veterans or civilians. And because there are options in Houston, we are blessed with a lot of organizations that help out. But these people, whether they have post-traumatic stress, anxiety orders or disorders, or they are addicted to some sort of substance that prohibits them from being inside that facility because they are a danger to themselves or others. And that means usually drugs or alcohol.
Yeah, it sucks for sure. And I wish there was some big project that would be doable to help everyone, but the numbers have grown so large over time, you almost don't know where to start, which is really sad, honestly. Um, I bet
You
there's something we can do, but I don't know to what extent you can save them all. It's the same with like animal shelters. As much as you want to go in and help every cat and dog, at the end of the day, the sad truth is it is probably not going to be possible unless
right.
you can buy them all and send them to an island or
Well,
something.
even then, dogs are going to be dogs, and cats are going to make cats, and they're going to make puppies and kittens. And
Yeah.
so there's always going to be that growing population. Bob Barker, who used to be the host of The Price is Right before he handed it over to Drew Carey, he was a huge supporter of all animals. At the end of every one of the shows, and before they wrapped on taping, he would say, "Make sure you control your animal population, spay and neuter your pets." And he's exactly right. If you love your dog or cat, make sure you take care of them unless you're breeding them.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, make sure that you're taking care of because who wouldn't want a little baby Colton, right? But
I
service
know.
dogs, they get spayed and neutered because there's a certain amount of training they can't do if they're distracted because they want to mate. There's that animal instinct, and it's crazy. I've got a friend of mine, Kelly. She's dog sitting for someone else. He adopted a stray, which is awesome, but he is in the oil and gas industry, and so he's leaving for 2 months. And now he's thankfully that he's got Kelly to watch his dog. Otherwise, what happens to his dog for 2 months?
That is a long time.
Yeah, exactly. And so you have to think before you get your pets, right?
For sure. And we're planning on getting a cat. Yay! Convinced him. And we're not getting the cat yet because we have to wait till the summer is over. And then we'll find out next steps of his employment. But when we do, we will get a cat from a shelter. We're not gonna get a kitten because everybody goes for the kittens. and I want to give other cats a good chance. So we're probably gonna go with a teenager slash a cat that's a little like adult. Like I don't want a senior cat because I do want a
How do you know
couple.
it's a teenager's got an earring?
What?
How do you know it's a teenager cat? It's got an earring,
Oh no, but
leather jacket.
I'm really excited. We went to a cat cafe the other day and it was adorable. It's very, very therapeutic. If you like cats at all, I highly suggest looking if there's a cat cafe in your area because not only do they take really good care of the cats, it just makes you so much happier. Even
Hold
if you
on,
just to
tap
the
tap the
window.
brakes here because there are people watching this right now. They have never heard of a cat cafe. They don't not. First of all, they don't serve cats. Well, hold on. They feed them, so I guess they do serve them, but they don't serve cats on a
Okay,
plate.
yeah. So
So,
a cat cafe, or at least I've only ever been to one, which is this one. I do know they're more popular in like Japan and stuff, which is where they were originated, if I'm not mistaken. Fact check me if I'm wrong. But it's usually a cafe and then a separate cat room. Sometimes they're combined, but usually for the cat safety, it's like a separate room. So like in our case, there was like a really cute like cat bar, and you can get drinks, refreshments, like little snacks, like K-pops and whatever. And then once they disinfect the room and vacuum it and make sure all the cats are good, you're allowed to go in for your window that you booked to the cat cafe. And it was 15 cats, and it was the cutest thing. There, it's like all of the furniture here was wood, so they can't mess it up. But there were like a ton of cat trees and shelves and just like a cat's heaven, and it was so cute. Each of them had a bandana, and then there was like a wall with their pictures and their names. A ton of toys. We were able to give them treats, and then the only thing is like you can't pick them up off the ground just in case they don't like you. And kids go in there as well, so it's mostly like because of that. But it was very fun, and we plan on going back possibly before mealtime because they were all pretty tired. But it was really
now you explain there's different types of cats. There are cats that just they live there. That's their hood. Then there
yeah,
are cats that you can adopt.
yes. So this specific cat cafe has permanent resident cats, which I think they had 6 adoptable cats. So the rest were permanent resident cats, and those cats are usually cats picked out on their personality, like if they're really good balancers, I guess, if you will. Like if they have a good personality, they're calm, good with people, and then they are also good around the new cats to kind of like help them integrate into the community or whatever. And so they'll usually come in as kittens, or if they're good behaved adults, they'll come in as adults, and they'll live the rest of their lives at that cat cafe. Um, Usually. And then there are other cats, they work together with I forget who, but I think it's King County Animal Shelter or something here in Seattle. And then
Okay.
they send them the cats that are adoptable. They see if the cat integrates well. If yes, the cat becomes an adoptable cat. And those cats at the cat cafe have, I think, a 4 to 6 week adoption period. So it is lengthy, but extensive. And they do same day if you go to the animal shelter where the like original cats come from. It's so much fun. And actually, that reminds me of a movie that we could talk about. Um,
Okay, let's talk about it.
Despicable Me 4 just came out, but specifically this topic reminds me of the first one where he had that book with the 3 little kitty puppets that would
Oh my
drink.
God, they'll finger things.
Yeah.
Oh, that is hilarious. Now, which one was it where he goes, free tray? And it was against the woman, and she's like, "You're not supposed to announce which one because she like shut it down."
Lipstick taser. I think that was the second one.
Was that number two?
I think so because the first one he fought against Vector, the orange weird guy with the big tummy, and then
Oh yeah,
he took the kids, and then he adopts the girls, and I think in the next movie he finds her. I'm not
that.
sure. We have to rewatch them before we go watch the new one, but I'm
What was,
pretty.
you know what? That's a good question. What are the three girls' names?
Agnes,
Dolores.
really?
I'm pretty sure.
Hold on, before I Google it, I know one of them is Agnes. What's the small one? I think the small one with the ponytail was Agnes, right? Where it's
I
like
think.
it's
Yep.
coffee. Then I'm blanking. I have to Google it.
Yeah, and I may be wrong with Dolores. I thought that I was going to. I remembered Agnes, but the name Dolores popped in my head. I know his name is Gru, and it's voiced by Steve Carell, and he's
Okay,
brilliant.
Margot, Agnes, and Edith,
I was way wrong. Gotcha. All right,
and then we got Gru, of course.
Gru. You know what the joke was that I should have dressed up as Gru for Halloween and just had some
Others
fun with.
I just talked about doing that possibly. That he'll do Gru and I'll do a minion.
Oh, that sounds good.
Yeah, I don't know. I need to do something good this year. I love
You need
Halloween.
a lot of minions, so you can't just bring one minion. You got to bring a bunch of minions.
Well, I want to do something like playing into our size. I think Tinkerbell Peter Pan would be really cute.
That would be great. Can you get him to wear some tights?
Probably not.
All right.
Actually, no. I'm trying to remember if I ever did. We did Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy a couple years ago.
That was cute. That was really cute. You
Yeah.
know, Peter Pan would be a great one because I mean that would be awesome with your size.
That would be so cute. So I want to do something like that. Or he suggested Shark Boy and Lava Girl. That could be really cool too.
Yeah, or he could be Big Bird and you would be like Oscar the Grouch.
He's been called that before, so that makes it a little funnier.
Yeah. Well, what's another small? Ooh, you could be Elmo. Well, Elmo's a boy, but you could be Elmo. Elmo kind of shoes. I don't know the other big small characters that would work on that one. So, but
Either Tom and Jerry could be cute.
yeah, it could be. Yeah, yeah, it sure could.
What do you think you and Colton are gonna be?
I don't know. I mean, I usually don't dress Colton up so much, even though his trainer puts masks and stuff on him. With Deadpool and Wolverine coming out, I don't know. I mean,
That
uh,
would be funny.
I do have one of my friends dressing up as Deadpool. That's his thing. I mean, he's got the full costume and all that good stuff. Hopefully, he's going to do some stuff with Stay Tuned. I don't know. I could do the Wolverine because in the comic books, Wolverine is, I think, like 5'2". He is not a huge guy. I'm sorry.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he was 5'2", and then Hugh Jackman is like 6'2", and so he's a full foot taller than what? So Wolverine, real height. I'm going to say 5'3". Dang it, yeah. But
Really?
Hugh Jackman is 6'3", so he is a foot taller.
Oh wow. Every time I watch The Boys, the guy who plays Butch reminds me of Wolverine. I'm pretty sure I bring that up every time we talk about Wolverine, but I don't know if it's just the Australian accent that makes them seem so similar. I feel like they're very similar people, like at least in the realms that they're playing their characters in.
Well, Ed Kime told me about the boys. He's like, "Oh, you're gonna love it." On a scale of 1 to 10, which is normally what I do, I give it a solid 8. I want to give it a 9 or a 10. I love the storyline. I love the character definition. I love the graphics and CGI in there. For me, as a former combat medic, it's too bloody and gory. I mean,
It's so gory.
it really is. And did you watch the episode this weekend?
No, I'm not caught up because I've been trying to watch it with Anders, but I think we are on episode 2 now.
Well, it doesn't disappoint. It's all good stuff, and it gives you a little bit more in the story to where you're like, you just wait till next year. Like, stay tuned.
There's
Uh,
like some parts where like you kind of know something bad's about to happen, so
yeah.
I can't look. And a lot of times it sucks because some shows do it really well where if someone's about to like, you know,
Hmm.
um, they will show it off screen and it's obvious what
Right.
happened, but you don't have to see
Yeah.
it. I love that style because I
I'm with
don't
you.
need to see
Yeah,
it.
everything doesn't have to be Quentin Tarantino style where it shows you how the bullet enters and exits the body. We don't need it. We know the guy got shot or got hurt or whatever. Let's move on. Keep going.
They did it really well in the first episode, and I'm trying not to spoiler it, but I don't even remember her name. The chick who has the regenerating power. Um, it's okay.
Starlight?
It's not a big spoiler anyway. I think her name's like Kimiko or something.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. You're right. Yes.
As she fell, they didn't show her face, thankfully.
Yeah.
Like they just showed her being put back. That was
Yeah.
totally fine. I feel
She got
like,
the
and
Wolverine power. Yeah, excellent. So anyway, that's a series that I'll continue to watch. So Ed was right on that one. Thumbs up. Good to go. And just like that, 30 minutes have passed, and we've talked a little bit about everything, Amber.
I know. Well, I always look forward to our talks, and thank you to those who watch. We will catch you again next week.
Stay tuned.